Okay, well, I'm live. I'm live on a TV
We are
show.
live on a TV show right now. This is
Hi.
John Young
I
with the Disc Jockey
hold on, hold
News.
on. Hold
And
on,
this,
I'm gonna put you on speaker. Say hi.
hi, Maureen.
Hi, everybody.
That's
That,
my wife.
that's right. Tonight is a special Monday Night Chat. Maureen's going to be talking to us about all things DJ, all the frustrations that the spouse feels. Tonight is the night that we're going to dig to the bottom of those frustrations. Are you ready, Maureen?
What?
Okay, honey, it's nice talking to you. I'll talk to you later. Bye. I would never let you talk to my wife about that. Am I
Especially on a live
drunk?
feed. That would be so awesome.
That would be that. I if she was going to be here, she probably would come. That might be a show we should do. Is because I always thought when you first started doing these shows, and you and I talked about it, we always thought it would be a good show to have like a once a month DJ spouses.
See, and I think that it would be an interesting idea.
I
And
do
then
too.
after we would, find us in a corner, shriveling, or in a fetal position, crying. Probably not so good after that point anymore.
Well, I think those of us that have relationships in this business that have lasted, because it's tough, man, to have, especially us guys. It's difficult for us to have relationships with our girlfriends and our wives and still be in the entertainment business.
Oh, for sure.
And a lot of guys struggle with that. A lot of guys have been divorced or have never gotten married or whatever, and and I used to think it was not that big of a deal until you and I started talking about how I've been married 21 years. I'm coming up on 22 years in April.
Yeah.
You've been married, I don't know, 40, 50. You're like
Yeah.
117 years old, aren't you?
23 years. It'll be, 23 years this summer.
Right. And a lot of guys look at me and go, how do you do that? Well, my wife is crazy, or she's jealous, or she doesn't understand me, or whatever that is. I think that it would be a service to those partners in this business, people who DJ and then their spouses who don't, to be able to see the other side of it and see that they're not alone with these struggles,
Oh, for sure.
and that there's a way to do this and not make anybody wrong. And because unless you're out there just being a horrible person.
See, and I think both of us have been married a long time, but I think we come at it from, we've got two different situations, because in my situation, Lori was an active DJ for a long time. And whereas Maureen she's got a career that she's doing, and then you're doing your career, and then you're trying to make those two schedules jive,
Right.
which I think would be so much tougher than
And
Maureen's situation.
I suppose so, but what I always hear is that the biggest problem is that in the entertainment business, our job is to be attractive people,
Right.
not necessarily like, hey, I'm a model,
Yep.
but more of I attract people to me. I get people excited about being around me, about dancing or having fun. So I have to be the guy in the room who's the most attractive. And heck, I even met my wife at a gig, which I don't recommend. It's not smart, but it worked out. And because you're not really being you at a gig, there's this persona you created at a gig. So to meet somebody at a bar that you're working, or at another event that you're doing, and then to be, I'm not the same thing at home as I am when I'm performing.
And I think
That's
that,
another dichotomy you got to get
for
into.
sure. And I think that little, what you just touched on right there, is one of the things that a lot of DJs, whether they're younger DJs or older, it's a tough thing to have my DJ John stage persona and then to come home and just be husband and dad John. Sometimes that is just a tough balance. Very tough
It
balance.
really is. It really is. And to turn, sometimes it's a problem just turning it off.
Mm-hmm.
You come home. I mean, I find myself trying to entertain my kids instead of just being, what you're being in an audience and what you're being as a regular human being. Just to balance that period is hard. You forget, that you can just be a regular person, and that regular person is, when you're on stage, it's you amplified.
For
But at
sure.
home, it's just you. And I can be quiet, and I like quiet. And in the first, when I was first dating, and DJing and acting and then dating, I'd always have the girls I dated like, why are you so weird? Well, I'm not weird. I'm just not on. I'm not on a stage. I'm not trying to be a certain thing. Marine got that from the beginning, thankfully.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she she knows the difference between me and me amplified, and she
Right.
doesn't always like me amplified.
Mm-hmm.
So she's really good at okay, that's enough, monkey boy, just lay down, relax. So that's that balance for me is really really amazing. Plus we've been really honest, from the beginning about what I do, what she does. She does the same as a hairdresser. She does the kind of the same thing. She attracts people to her chair.
Yeah.
Guys and girls, people who want to be around her and like her a lot. And either I can live in the jealousy of the fact that she changes her schedule around to make these people happy, and or she can do the same thing with me, or we can just realize that there's work and there's home.
You mentioned, of course, the me amplified. Now, and we've been out together as couples, with Lori and Marina and the two of us. When you are out, especially because we go out and we're usually with a bunch of DJs, how is the me amplified that shows up? And I know it does because I've been there when you both we both have been in that me amplified. How do you bring that back down when you have your spouse there, is Marine just tolerant of you until she gets to that point where she grabs you by the ear for the night?
Honestly, it is kind of it's either a tolerance or she's willing to play or she's not willing to play.
Mm-hmm.
I like playing. I like, going out and being silly and or not. And some, it's like anything. Look, if her and I go out to do something that she likes to do and she's really excited about it, but I'm not, I either come along or I don't. I don't think there's a rule one way or the other. It's like we like each other. We trust each other. We want to give back. So she'll come out and like, here's a perfect example of her dealing with me. If I'm at a conference, she's only going to a conference with me, a DJ conference, twice. Okay. Because I come into a room and I turn it on. Okay.
Yeah.
Or people see me and they want to come around and I'm talking and all of a sudden I'm liking the attention and everybody's talking to me and my wife is here and I'll even forget she's here. And she'll sit quietly and watch, or she'll interject. But it isn't as much fun for her because they don't know. They know me, but they don't necessarily know my wife.
Sure.
And she oftentimes it's Bill Herman and his wife Maureen. Oh, I'm the wife, she said. Oh, I'm the wife. Not necessarily. I'm trying to bring her into it, but she also is not a performer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a performer, and that's part of who I am too. So she doesn't necessarily come to DJ shows anymore. One of the things she said was, it's kind of like, when you're really on and you're really big, and then you come into a room full of people exactly like you. So it's like you times 50. I can handle you. And maybe you times 3, but not you times 50. So she doesn't always like that as much, even though she loves me and she's proud of what I do and who I am. Our time together is a very private thing. Mm-hmm. It's difficult for DJs who know me outside of this and see me either performing or at a conference to see me in a situation where I'm just kind of backed off and being mellow, going to watch some jazz or just sitting and listening to music or quietly having a meal with a glass of wine. It's almost like two different lives, but not really.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, it really does. It really does. And as I'm not as charismatic as you are, and I'm not as outgoing as you are, because you have a way when you come into a room, and that's something for me that isn't something that I have honed as much, but it is something over the last few years I've been trying to develop more of that. So I find myself now, when Lori and we went out to a local eatery the other night, and we go in there, and it's just going to be downtime with just John and Lori, and I walk into the room, and someone recognizes me from our videos, and it's like, hey, and I mean, this is small town Gray Eagle, and it's
one of the 7 people there recognized.
That was literally it. They have watched some of our videos, and they were actually from out of town, coming through the area, and just stopped for a bite to eat. It was just a coincidence, but it was one of those situations where I wasn't being John from Disc Jockey News. I was being John, the husband, and we were just going to have a quiet moment. And when they called and talked and said, "Hey, John, it's the Disc Jockey News," and it just kind of threw me for a loop because I wasn't there. I wasn't mentally in that frame of mind. I wasn't expecting that. And I apologize for the folks. They probably thought I was being a jerk because it's just like, Yeah. Oh, huh? And then eventually it's like, oh wait, these are some of our. And then so I went over and turned it on to go over and talk to them a
Yeah.
little bit, and then excused myself and went back, and I still found
It's a
myself.
weird thing too. It's difficult to complain about it either, because that tiny bit of fame, and it's a very tiny compared to what people deal with.
Yeah.
The little bit of fame that you have, or the little bit of fame that I have, that some of the colleagues that I have, or DJs around the country, even the world, think that I'm like this. I'm all 17 or 18 people who watch the little videos that I do. It's not that big a deal. I'm not like Tom Cruise.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you get a tiny taste of what those people deal with, and compare. I mean, if you think about it, and I don't want to compare it because I know it's a tiny taste. Yeah. It's not like, the screaming millions of people who know who Tom Cruise is. It's just me and one person kind of maybe seeing me that I don't know. And then for me to compare it, it feels weird. So the idea of, would I be able to handle anything bigger than this? Those really famous people, their entire job is to deal with that kind of illusion that's been created for an entire planet of people.
Exactly.
Whereas me, it's like maybe there's 17 DJs at a conference that'll see me walking down a hallway, and those 17 people are like, oh, I know that guy.
Mm-hmm.
17 people, not 17 million people.
Exactly.
So it's, I can't imagine. I used to, when I was a boy as an actor, I thought I want to be famous someday. I don't know. I don't know. How do people handle that?
Yeah.
How do people who are really, truly famous, handle that kind of I know who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be talking to you because I've got this strange connection with you because of a video on a computer or on a TV show or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely is a different world, a different way of life. And again, that brings us back when you have your spouses involved in what little we experience. I can't imagine when you would take that exponentially up with that popularity and such, how it would be for spouses. I mean, I see how difficult it is, as you mentioned, that it's John and his wife. Although more people know Lori in the industry because of her connection with the Disc Jockey News, but still,
and she's better looking.
She's still, though, feels like she's that spare tire at times. And I at times feel just guilty because it's like, gosh, I could have, had her introduced and moved and had her talk to her, go here, set her, I'm a bad husband.
Yeah, no, you really are. I'm okay with that. I am a much better husband than you.
I'm just bad.
I will say that all day. And as long as my wife's not here, I'm going to take complete credit for it.
You're doing great.
I'm not afraid of her when she's not next to me.
So yeah, it's an interesting. So for those of you out there who are younger, just getting into a relationship and such, there are a lot of pitfalls. And I guess if there was one thing, I guess I would recommend is and it's probably sounding cliche, but it's really a lot of communication to be able to be able to share exactly what's going on and helping them understand the difference between the amplified us and the regular us.
Well, I don't know if it's even as much helping them to understand it. It is more us understanding their words and their concerns. They don't need to know. They don't care really.
Well,
if you just understood the amplified me, honey.
No, I think there has to be. It's a two-way street in this, because they have to understand, how we operate, especially if they're not in that more of a performance mode. But then we also need to really understand where they're coming from and what they're viewing and their perception of the whole process, because there so many messages can be sent so many different directions that it really can become a really isolating event.
Well, the more you talk about it, the more honest you are, the more you don't hold back, and the more you take more time to understand how they feel about stuff, how they see this from their perspective, the more successful you're going to be. You don't necessarily have to change who you are, but you do need to understand that they're seeing it from a perspective that you will not ever kind of get. You'll kind of get it, but you don't live in it. Okay. I'm the performer. She's a hairdresser. Okay. A performer's job is to do a certain thing and to be out there and to smile all the time and to be accommodating and if you like your job and you're good at your job, then it comes natural. I mean, I like meeting people. I love talking to people. It's a good job for me because all those things that you're supposed to be, I am just naturally that. She's not, so she doesn't get it. It's like the first time she saw me sing, she was more nervous watching me
Hmm.
than I was. She was nervous for it, as if she was up there. Her knees were shaking and she's trembling as if she's doing it herself, watching me do it. So she doesn't understand it, and she doesn't have to. All I can do really is to be honest, and to make and to stay in the integrity of the relationship and the communication of it.
Yeah.
She's honest with me. She holds true to the integrity of our relationship and who we are for each other, and I am as well. And when there is miscommunication, then we just have to talk. We have to talk.
Yeah, that's a huge part.
She needs to go, I am crazy and I'm really jealous, or I really have this problem.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, some people think that's worse on the side of the person that's not the entertainer. But honestly, when you really start talking, you really start communicating, you really have the kind of connection that's going to have you together for 20 plus years, then I can get it just as strongly as she does.
Yeah.
She's not a performer. So if we're not talking, then that's when the problem comes in. If we're not being honest and straight, saying the stuff that we're afraid to say just because it needs to be said, then that's where we run into problems. Yeah. So, and I can't tell you, 20, almost 22 years. I wish I could say that I've got it figured out. No, we try to figure it out. The only thing I know for a fact is if I'm not completely honest, we have a problem. If she's not completely honest, we have a problem.
Yeah.
And sometimes that happens. And then sometimes you come together again and go, okay, well, I didn't tell you this. Well, I didn't tell you that. And I was feeling this way. And I was, okay, good. And we can wrap it up, throw it over here and start again. Yeah. And it's a constant conversation of re-enrolling each other in why we are together and that we want to be together.
Cool. Well, that's going to be our first segment for tonight. And we're going to get into our topic. So I'm going to put a break here, Bill, and we'll be right back in 2 seconds. Here we go. Okay, we are back. It is now time for our topic. Thank you for watching, gang. We got into talking about relationships, and we wanted to continue on that. But now, Bill, what I wanted to talk about tonight is the idea. I've had a lot of DJs asking me recently, a lot of younger guys who are asking, when you get started in the business, what are some things? And you come from a performance side, so if there were some tips and ideas, let's kind of just think about some things that younger DJs could, places they could go, things they could do for getting started.
Well, getting started how? I guess the first question I'd want to ask is, what do they want? Get me started there.
The idea around their performance, they want to become better performers, and I've heard this from a few of them.
Okay, well, performers when it comes to mixing or speaking, or
just let's give them a variety of different
okay,
avenues and such. You're going to come from more of a speaking and acting side of it. I mean, the wiki isn't your strength, but for those who are looking to.
Whoa! First of all, that's not true.
Oh, okay. Like you're going to be offended that I said wiki. Come on.
Just because most people see me and they know me as an actor, and because of that, that's kind of what I've. But I mean, I worked in the clubs in the '80s. I was out on the East Coast. I got to learn from DJs who learned from Grandmaster Flash. I know I know how to do it. I'm just not working the clubs anymore.
Yeah.
So so I wanted to have. Let's start there. I wanted to be that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I got a job at a club on the East Coast, and they brought me in, and I was the only white guy there. I knew oldies music. My dad. I was DJing an oldies radio station. I knew music from the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I could put together a really great party. And they brought me in to do that. Didn't work very well. And then I was around a bunch of guys who knew hip hop. And when hip hop was new and all of that stuff was happening and popping and scratching and all that stuff with 2, 3, 4 turntables, I was mesmerized. How did I learn how to do that? I had to lower my head. I need to walk in and say, I have no idea what that is. All right. But I want to learn it. I want to throw away everything that I know about what I think I know, and I'm going to be at your disposal and learn as if I'm brand new again. And because of it, I learned to do stuff that I'm very proud of, and I love to do, and I worked really, really hard at. And when I started using digital programs nowadays, it just makes me mad because I work really, really hard to do stuff on turntables that is so much easier now
Right.
with digital programs. How do you do it? How do you get better? You find someone that you want to emulate, and you find a teacher who's willing to show you. And they're out there. It's just that, you know, you can't just go in and copy. That's one way to do it. But and with my acting background, I've been doing that since I was much younger. You know, my first time on stage, I was 5. And when I got into community theater and was around adults, I realized I didn't know what the hell I was doing, even though, I got a 6-year-old kid who thinks he knows what he's doing. You get into a community theater, you have adults. Now you're looking at a different level of what you're doing. So now you're listening to your newest mentors, whether they're community theater actors or not, they're adults that have been doing it longer. So here I am learning from them. And then from them, I find out that if you want to get better at any kind of performance, you should be taking performance classes. One of the first things I tell all of the people who take my workshop, and the best advice I ever got from the best teacher I ever had, was always be taking classes. And if you're not taking classes, be on stage. If you're not on stage, be taking classes. If you're not taking classes, be on stage. It is one of those things you need to be on and practicing all the time. It's like working out in a gymnasium. You're not doing push-ups all the time, your arms will atrophy. And then you're going to have to start over again. If you're not working on your voice, if you're not doing vocal exercises, if you're not taking a movement class or an acting class or a vocal class, if you're not doing stage comedy, if you're not doing improv, you should be doing those things. Always being on a stage, trying to master something that is not something that can be mastered. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. But I want to jump you back
Oh, no,
a little
sorry.
bit, a little bit. No, that's good. You got into the stage and practice, and we'll kind of get into that. But when you're um, looking back, you mentioned that you would find someone to basically learn from that could teach you the tricks and such. And then you've used the phrase mentor in here. Now, are you looking for someone that you can basically kind of emulate from a distance? Are you recommending someone that they could go and work, side by side with, or work in the shadows with? What would be your advice for someone to find and go that route?
Well, your own level of how you go about it, or how your level of what's the word I'm looking for? Your comfort level is going to differ. Some people want to go and watch from the shadow, and they try to copy. It doesn't teach you a lot, but it is a way to kind of see something new and then to see kind of where you are. Copying is hard to do because you're never going to copy anything perfectly.
Certainly.
Um, but it's finding a comfort level at first that you feel you're okay with. Um, People get stuck in the ego of I know what I'm doing, and that doesn't serve you at all. Your ego is your best friend as a performer, but when it comes to learning something new, oftentimes it's your worst enemy. You don't take and think to yourself, I'm not good enough. I am awful at this, and I'm going to surrender myself to somebody else to have them show me something that I think I know and do better at. Finding that first person, surrender yourself to somebody, and if it's copying for a while, I'm not a big fan of that, but it's at least you putting yourself out there to try to learn something. The best way to do it is to take on somebody who's willing to make you feel bad. Like, look, I didn't do good grade. I didn't have good grades in school. But the classes that I took that I did the best at, I failed the most. I tried really, really hard and I failed a lot. So as I started getting better on stage, I throw myself on stage and I would fail in front of an audience. You got to bomb. You got to find out what it feels like to be really, really bad at something. Because if you don't know where this level is, you're never going to be able to find that level. A great comedian will tell you, you can't go up on stage and just start being funny. You will, but you're not going to really learn anything until you start just dying on stage. You need to go up there and die every night to find out, okay, that worked and that didn't work. This worked and that didn't work. Robin Williams said something to an interviewer years ago that I still remember today about the interview said, well, how do you do that? I mean, it looks like you make this stuff up. It just comes out of your ears. I mean, it's like, your magic. How everything you do is exactly on point. It's hysterical. It's funny. It's like, where's that coming from? And he says, well, first of all, I've been doing it since I was a baby. Second of all, I'm not just making this stuff up. This is stuff that I know works. And the reason I know is because I stood on a stage and I told 50 jokes and 49 of them bombed. But that 50th one, I went, oh, that's good. I put it in my pocket. And I did that years and years and years until I had pockets full of great jokes. So I don't use the ones that suck. I may bring the ones that suck out, and I try to find a way to work them so they do, so I can put that in my pocket of being able to be used. So it's like, it's that failure, being unafraid to fail. Now, the toughest part about a business where you get paid is you don't want to necessarily have to fail in front of people that are paying you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got to find stages. You got to find open mics. You got to DJ for free if you have to, or be unafraid to bomb for people that are paying you. So in such a way that you're willing to pay them back. My industry says, I don't want you to do that. I want everybody's parties to be amazing. So don't go out there and DJ a wedding until you really know what you're doing. But you're not going to get better until you suck. You got to suck a lot. And you got to put yourself in situations where you got to really figure this out. So that's where you start to get better with velocity. Failing big will make you expand bigger. Failing small, this. I tried one little thing and it kind of it worked out okay, but it could have been better. Well, okay, you'll go from here to there. But if you go in and you just face plant and there's blood and gore and explosions and it's an awful, horrible mess, the next time you do it, you're going to go from here to there. Do that with people that are not counting on you. Go to those open mics. Go stand in front of people doing stand-up comedy. And that's another reason why training and classes are so great, because there's a place for you to just dive into the deep end and drown and let somebody pull you out, sit and dry off and catch your breath and then throw you into the deep end again. Nobody there is expecting it to be great. In fact, if you come to a class and they're great, either the teacher's not doing his job or you came in just trying to impress. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, certainly.
So where do they start? Start. Really? Just
that's
start. Pick something. Okay, and be okay with being bad at it. And do yourself a favor. Don't pick something that you think you'll be good at, because you'll grow that much. Pick something you know you're going to suck at. So when you do grow, you'll grow that much. You want to grow fast? Pick something you know you're going to be bad at, and then try really hard to be better at it. If it's not something you're ever going to get great, you're never going to make it. If you make it, then you might as well start digging ditches or baking bread. Really. The people I compare myself to when it comes to performance, and the people that I want to be as good at, are people like Robert De Niro and Robin Williams and Meryl Streep. Am I ever going to get there? No. There's always going to be that unattainable thing. Why do I need it to be unattainable? Because if I make it, then what am I going to do?
For sure. Let's jump to our next one. We've got a question, and we're going to put a segment up here. But we had a question about a gentleman who is a teacher who's doing weddings on the side, and he was asking about not really sure how much to charge. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But really, Bill, what I want us to focus on in the next segment is more of that concept of how you can convey your value and not really where the market's not really dictating what you're charging as much as people would really think. So I'm going to put our video break here. We got 8 seconds. Okay, for our next segment, we're going to be talking about the concept of figuring out what you're going to charge in your market, which is kind of a little bit of a misnomer from the standpoint of that you really can't let your market decide your rates in many ways. I think of that statement, and Bill, I'm going to put that statement out there, and tell me what your thoughts are as far as that goes.
The question of how much should you charge?
The idea of how much he's in a smaller market, and he's wondering what to charge, and my thought is that sometimes that your market really isn't going to dictate the rates that you should be charging as much as your skills, abilities, and things should.
Well, if you start with when you try to start figuring out your pricing, and then the first thing you think of is what is everybody else charging, which is the what is the market? The market is figure out what everybody else charges, and I come in somewhere around there. Okay, well that's easy, I suppose, but that means now that you are at the um, the mercy of what other people charge and what other people are saying that DJs should be paid. Which honestly is kind of silly because there's not that many people that hire DJs. First of all, that they have any any idea of what the DJs charge. I still have people who sit with me going, I have no idea what you people charge.
Yeah.
But I also got at the same time I've got DJs telling me, no, there's an actual market. They all know what we charge. There's a weird conversation going on there. So if you live in that, then it's easier to pick. Because okay, well the market charge, well everybody charges this much money. I'll just pick one in the
Yep. Yep.
middle. Okay, you're done if that's what you want to do. That's you saying that you are going to charge what you think people will pay you, as opposed to charging what you need to make. Okay, there's a very different way of looking at it. I need to make a certain amount of money. I am the skill, the talent, the personality, the thing that I'm bringing to the table is worth a certain dollar amount.
Yep.
And for me, it has very little to do with well, it has nothing to do with what other people charge. I have a certain skill and a talent, and I have something that is of value to people. Not everybody, but and the people that see it as a value will pay what I ask for it. Now, um, there's people also that will say, well, you can't ask for $1 million. Well, yeah, well, I'm not going to spend $1 million on most anything. I don't have $1 million, but a reasonable fee to be able to have people pay you for a skill that they do not have is not an unfair thing to say. And the problem with saying this is what the market will pay, and all the DJs say we all charge this, then there's going to be a guy who says, well, but I want to have more of that market. So if you're all charging $800, I'm going to charge $700. Oh, well, that guy's getting more because he's got $700. Well, first of all, you don't know that, but you think he does because he's charging $700. Well, geez, I want that bigger market share. How am I going to do that? Well, easiest way to do it, I'll give it away cheaper. I'll do it for $600. And then there's always this race to the bottom. Now you're doing it for what you think they'll pay as opposed to what you are supposed to get. And the problem with the race to the bottom now is that you end up, doing it long enough to figure out you can't make any money. And then you go and you stock shelves at the A&P as well.
Yeah.
You have 3 other jobs so that you can do this for fun on the weekend, which is okay, which is what kind of the business has become. But people will pay you, especially if you have something of value. Even the first DJ, a guy who does it his first party, they're hiring that guy trust me, they're not hiring that guy because because of his DJ skills. They know it's his first party.
Yeah.
So why are we hiring that guy? Doing him a favor? No, not usually. If you're doing them a favor, then you are doing them a favor too, and you're doing it for free.
Yep.
So if they want you, it's because of something that has very little to do with your skills as a DJ. You've got a great personality. They know that you're really good at getting a party started, even if you don't have music. They think you're funny and they think you're talented. They think that the talent of just getting a party going, whether you can DJ or not, that's worth something there as well. Now, you want to make a living at it? Well, then you have to ask for a fee that's going to be commensurate for that. Oh, $600 for an evening sounds really, really great. Okay, great. So if that's all you ever did and you worked every Saturday, let's say even every Friday and Saturday, $1,200 a week enough? $1,200 a week I used to make in radio. And I used to put 60 hours a week into $1,200 a week. And I had to work at the A&P stock and shelves because it wasn't enough money. So it's a hard question and it's a hard lesson for people to learn. And those guys, and there's very few DJs in the country that are actually making a living doing just this, just as, as a single, you have a big company and you can bring your prices down and you can do lots of volume and that's a company thing. And that is what that is. I'm talking from my perspective as a single performer. I have to make a certain amount of money a week to be able to have a house, car, and wife and kids and to feed them and to have insurance, have car insurance, health insurance, and all these things. Well, geez, to do that, I got to make, even to make $30,000 a year working at a convenience store. That's not enough nowadays.
Yeah.
I'd have to be make, on the lower end, have to be making 45 to $50,000. Well, now as a business owner, I've got to make three times that much. I got to bring three times that much in to be able to have that kind of a salary, because a business owner has to take 2/3 of their money and put it towards expenses. So
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of things to consider. If you just want to get good and do it for nothing, and you like doing it for free because you really dig the gig and it's just party time for you, I don't really care what you charge. You know, if you're looking to get better at it, charge more and you'll get better at it faster. There's a lot of, I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place here, because there's a lot of things that will help you be what you want. Another really great way to get really much better, much faster, is to charge a really big fee. Look, you charge $5,000 for a party. You will do what it takes to be a $5,000 DJ. You'll take the classes, you'll take on the pressure, you'll be better than you think you are. You'll try really hard and you'll get better faster. But if you're only charging this much, well, how hard do I got to try? So how much better you're going to get? Because I mean, heck, I'm not charging that much. So there's a lot of psychology in it. There's a lot of this into it and that into it. How much you charge? I'd love to see everybody charging a lot of money, so that we all could be making a really good, strong living, and this could be a uh, uh, viable thing for people to think of doing one day. I sat, as a high school student, and everybody I told I wanted to be a DJ went, "Oh, okay. Listen,
Yeah.
fun job and all, but you better have an education. You better have a full-time salary job with insurance and vacation time, because you want security, or you're not gonna, you're
Yeah.
one check away from, you know, living on the street." Well, yeah, they were right, but I because nobody made any money doing it. Now I charge a really good deal of money, a more money than most DJs even in the country, and I'm just making a living. A lot of guys think I'm doing really, really well. I'm sitting in a great big house, a lot of cars. No, I don't have a big house. I got an average house. We have average income. We're lower to middle income.
Yep.
We do okay. I make a living doing this. It's not a great living. It's a living. I won't a great living for performers are when you become famous.
Yeah.
And not famous with other performers either. It's like famous with the public. That's not happening anytime soon for me. So I make an okay living, but I have to charge a lot to make an okay average. I'm not going to go in the poorhouse living.
Mm-hmm.
But even that, I could be making, another $2,000-3,000 a show to be able to start putting away a good amount of money for a retirement, which for some people is easy to do if you work for Honeywell,
Yeah.
or you work for General Mills, or you work for Walmart in the corporate laddered structures. In the business world, I have to have more inventory. I need to have more bills to go out and at the fee that I'm doing, so that I can have a really good thing. Otherwise, I'm just a performer that makes an okay living, and that in itself, even in the acting world, is a rare thing and
Yeah.
a coveted thing. And I know a lot of actors that would love to be in my situation.
Mm-hmm.
I make a living as a performer. I DJ mostly. I DJ weddings. I MC weddings. That's what I do. But I also do some voiceover. That doesn't make me a lot of money, but it's part of what I do because I'm a performer. I do commercials. It's not a lot, but I do them. It's part of what I do. A little bit of radio, a little bit of this, but most of my income, my 90% of my income comes from private functions. So choose that, or have another job.
Yeah, very much so.
And then work really hard at it. What should you charge? I think you should be charging a really good living. The kind of fee that if you started doing 20 shows a year, you could do this for a living. That's what I think even a start out guy should charge. But you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm not, I don't necessarily like that, because it's not really building an industry that someday can make a big difference.
Yeah.
But this is not the DJ's world only. This is the actor's world too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's across the board. You see it,
you've been told for years that there's another guy waiting to do this in the hall. And
And
I
there
didn't
is.
make any money in radio because they beat us down because they said, hey, I'm not, you want to make more money? Oh, well, there's 3 other guys waiting to take your job. Oh. Or you take a stand at one point. And once you take a stand, then you need to step up to it, be better, and be so good that you can't be replaced by the guy in the hall. I could do this forever. This is kind of annoying, I know.
Let's switch gears just a little bit. I want to talk. No, I want to continue, but the one area, because we've got a couple of younger DJs, guys who are just really just getting into it, and they're asking questions and really trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. One of the things that when we first started, we sold basically our big sound system and our light shows. That was, that's how we based our value. Is the more gear we could bring, the more value we could show, or we felt that we could sell it for more money.
Yeah.
As we progressed, we found out that there isn't. Yes, there is a correlation to that, but somebody had asked about how many, lighting, how much lights do you take to gigs and such, and it's not where and what makes you and I a lot of money anymore.
It can be, though.
It could be.
I mean, if you want to be in the business of gear, then you treat it like rental. Okay. And a lot of guys don't even charge as much as if these people who hired them to get their gear and the lights to come to their party had to rent it from somebody who's in the business of rental, they'd have to spend more money usually.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys don't sit down and figure out, well, if I had to rent these speakers, how much would it be? If I had to rent this mixing board, this program that I play music, the music library itself, the lights, the trussing, all of the actual tangible equipment, had to rent it from somebody else. How much would it cost if they went to a rental company? And then so now it'll cost X amount of dollars. And if you're serious about it, that number is probably anywhere between $800 to $2,000, depending on how small the town you're working in. Well, not even actually. It's pretty. I think you're closer to probably $1,200 to $1,600, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
But then you gotta have somebody who can run it. Okay. And the guy who comes from the rental company to run it, he's not going to do it for nothing. So even if he charges only $200 for the evening, there's another $200. But if he's good at it, he's not going to want $200. He's going to want more than $200. When he brings his library, he's not going to rent his library. He's going to bring his library. Nobody rents. I wouldn't rent you my music library for nothing. You'll mess up my music library. So go buy your own music. But if you only bought 200 songs at $100 a piece, a dollar a piece, yeah. $200, right? So now there's $200 into a library but you only have 200 songs to pick from, which is not realistic, but let's just say it is. So there's another $200 you add to it. Now you take the guy who knows that if he plays this song and then this song and then this song in order, then the party will go, yeah. Is it talent? That's worth something. So now are you telling me, and I told this to a DJ the other day, it's like, are you telling me that you're going to take the rental of this gear and this music library and at its lowest amount, probably about $1,800, and now you're going to drop it off and leave? Oh, you're going to DJ.
Yeah.
Oh, how much would you like to get paid to DJ? And the guy looked at me and said, well, I don't know, a couple $100. I'm like, oh, okay. I got an idea for you. Why don't you come work for me? Because I'll charge you way more of that for you, and I'll make a pretty good profit. But are you telling me $200 is all you want to make for the evening? If it's all my gear and I do the setup and you just show up, $200 is enough for you? No, it isn't. Certainly it isn't. It isn't for him or anybody.
Yeah.
So is it frightening to have to charge that kind of money? Yeah. It freaks you out. You never, I don't know if I would pay that. Well, okay, but you're not out there hiring a DJ. Somebody else is. Would you hire a DJ for your party? No, you'd get a buddy and just do it for free, or you do it yourself. So you've got people out there that will pay a fee for what you got to bring. A really cool light show, a lot of great equipment. The sound's going to be awesome. You're going to open the mic and say some things with a silky smooth voice, and you're going to play music in an order that'll get everybody just whipped into a frenzy. That's worth something. It is. So you can give it away if you want. And as a hobby, haul your stuff back and forth, messing up your back and blowing up your speakers or doing all the things that are going to take it because you're going to bang it. People are going to put their drinks on your stuff. And okay, that's fun, I suppose. It was fun for me. But after a while, it's like, I ought to get paid to help myself.
For sure.
Or come to my house and listen to my music in my garage. But even that, now you're on my garage, I'll probably charge you to do that too. Because then I were working hard at this. I got good at this.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking about doing this, somebody told you you'd be a good DJ, then at some point you got good at it too. So give it away, I suppose. But at the end of the day, you had fun and didn't get paid, and you could have. And
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if you could have got paid, you're going, shoot, I wish yeah, it was fun. But yeah, it would have been nice to have that money in my pocket. You're right. You're not hurting anybody's feelings by saying I'd like that. And you're not killing yourself every once in a while because somebody says, no, that's okay. I'm going to have my Uncle Dave do it.
Yeah.
Have your Uncle Dave do it. Awesome.
It's
Uncle Dave's going to want money too, though,
it's
or at
it's
least a favor.
or something. Yeah. Want you to come
Yeah.
over and help him, paint the ceiling in his bedroom.
I gotta help Uncle Dave move now.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting. Because we spend time talking to event planners from around the country because of doing DJ shows, what have you, is one of the little jokes that a lot of event planners use is that if you need to rent a PA system at a hotel, the cheapest way to get a PA system for a hotel is to hire a DJ.
I know.
And you just have them set it up and you tell the DJ, we'll need the wireless microphone. You go stand in the corner and don't touch anything.
Right. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, we want your gear because
Yeah.
we could rent your gear cheaper from a place that does it professionally.
Yeah.
But
But I can get a
so
DJ.
that's what an insult that is. I mean, consider how insulted you should be
Mm-hmm.
that people would call you because you're unprofessional enough to bring your gear for way less money than a professional audio equipment company. You should be insulted enough to raise your rates. Just that right there.
Mm-hmm. And of course, a couple of guys are like Matt just made a comment that when you're first starting out, yes, you're not going to be able to charge when you're first starting out the kind of money that someone like Bill or myself who've been at this for 4 or 5 weeks. We've obviously have a different skill set that we're selling.
Well, a different point of view.
A different point of view. So don't get me wrong. When we first started out, and it was a different time, but we were doing inexpensive events to get our feet wet. As we talked about, you mentioned earlier, Bill, is that sometimes you end up taking a free gig because you just need that experience. You need to be in front of people. That's why college is such a great.
Yeah, I suppose, but that's not why I was doing it when I was younger. I was doing it for the same reason everybody. I was doing it because it was fun. None of this was a consideration of mine when I was younger.
Oh yeah, it was a great time to.
DJ who doesn't do it enough money and get mad at him. I don't want him to do it for nothing. I get that. I learned the hard way, just like he's going to learn the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wish I would have had somebody grab me by the lapels and shake me and say, "Stop this! What are you, nuts?"
Yeah, exactly.
But I was doing it for beer and chicks, and
I didn't
want to go to college, so I told my dad, "Well, no, I got a job. I'm getting paid pretty good. I make like $500.
Yeah.
I work at a bar. I make like $60. It's cash money, Dad. What do I need a college education for?" Well, how about, to realize that, if you want to really do this for a business, since you're going to be living, you're either going to work for somebody who understands business better than you, or you're going to figure that out.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's okay. It's just that I want to shake them because I should have been shook.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a lot easier. I wouldn't have had to go through the struggles. I wouldn't have had to work as a janitor, or a convenience store clerk, or stock shelves at an A&P. All these horrible jobs I had to have so that I could do once a week for very little money, so I could really be happy doing what I wanted.
Yeah.
Well, you can be really, really happy doing what you want and get paid a livable wage.
Mm-hmm.
A livable wage. I can tell you what I think a livable wage is, but I don't have to. Really think about it. Really, really think about what you would need to live in this world with only your DJ. You would choose that. It might be a little frightening, but you would choose that, and somebody would pay you. Now, you can get better, you can suck, and yeah, maybe you have to, but you don't have to. You do because you choose it. When you first start out, you got to do it for a lot less money. Yeah, I guess you do, if that's what you decide. But I know people that didn't get into it, got into it for the business end of it, and not just because they thought it would be good for DJing, just fun DJing.
Yeah.
Got into it for business, and they didn't start out the way DJs who do it for fun did. They came into it from a business standpoint and were already from the first show charging the kind of money they had to charge because it was business.
Mm-hmm.
It was just business. Yeah, I might suck at it, but something, I can't do this for less than. So I'll suck at it and charge what I have to charge. It's a decision you got to make. But if you don't start figuring it out soon, you won't do it for very long.
Exactly. And I think that's the idea that the decision you've got to make. It's something that we didn't, as I look back, we didn't make these decisions quite as early as we would like to. That's why you were
No.
mentioning shaking the lapels. That you need to you're going to have that break in time, that introducing yourself to the industry, the getting used to being in front of people and performing and playing and such. The problem is that if you stay in that entry level or that introductory level, you need to be having a plan to move beyond that and moving into more of a professional level, moving in
Well,
and
if in
increasing your
fact that's what you
skills.
want to do, I didn't think I could.
Yeah.
I didn't. It wasn't until just before 2000 that I realized that I could really do this for a living. I was convinced until about then that I really was doing this. This was, I'm an actor. I'm going to chase my passion when I can on my own time. I'm going to feel the art form. I'm going to love what I do because I'm passionate about this. But I'm going to have to work in a restaurant because
Hmm.
that's where security is. There's no way in the world I'm ever going to make a living at this. There just is no way to do it because I was told that for years and years and years. Okay, then if I wouldn't have made the decision that I want to make a living at it, I'd still be doing it that way. I would, but there's a decision to be made. Okay,
Hmm.
all the people who are not making enough money or charging much less, they're doing that and they have another job. They have to, or you don't have a house, you don't have an apartment, you don't have a car. You can't do this for very little money and not, and unless you've got a staff of people. If it's just you got to have another job, right? Okay, well, you want to have another job and do this, good for you. But if you want to do this, only this, then you have to price yourself in such a way. You have to go and be better. You need to get the training. You need to make the mistakes. You need to do all the things you need to do to go out and make a living at this, if in fact you want to. I'm no longer expecting that DJs should go out there and do this because I told them to. I would
Hmm.
love that because I'd like to see an industry,
Yeah.
but I had to choose too because I did for years. I was just matter of fact. I'll never make enough money. I'll always have to have a bunch of other jobs. That was fact. My father told it to me when I told him I wanted to be an actor. Better have another bunch of other jobs, kid.
Yeah.
I want to be a DJ. Great. Better have enough jobs to be able to make your rent, kid, because you're not gonna. He was right. He was never in the business. He was never an actor or a DJ, but he knew inherently that those people don't make enough money.
Yeah.
Okay. And either you live and have a roommate with three other roommates in an apartment, and you borrow money for gas and you live on the street when you can, and you DJ only. Or or you figure something else out because you can, forget DJing. You want to be a professional ditch digger? You can be a well-paid professional ditch digger. Figure out how to do it.
Hmm.
You got to charge. You got to be the best ditch digger out there. You got to create an artistic, beautiful hole that they can't wait to have you dig for them, and they'll pay you the amount of money to come in and dig their hole. Okay, good. Well, that guy's going to be worth a lot of money to dig a hole. Be that guy. You can do that for digging holes or this or painting or walking dogs or whatever that is.
Hmm.
Or just, hey, I make a living doing three other things and I paint on the side because I need something to artistically. I for years I never thought I'd be able to. I'm a lucky person. I thought it's not luck. It's I made a choice.
Yeah.
And I did what I had to do to be able to say, I am a professional performer, period. My father still doesn't believe it. Okay. I'm over 50 now. And my father still thinks that I must be making money someplace else. No, I make my living going ta-da, really.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah. So
Very much so.
I guess the only thing I can do is stand up and say, it's possible. Look at me. I did it. You can do it too. And the reason I wish somebody would have shook me by the lapels is I would have been doing it at age 25 instead of much later in life.
And I think that's one of the frustrations I look back to as all the opportunity in their younger days. If we would have known part of what we know now, how much more if we would have had some exposure to one of the gentlemen Jamie's mentioning, his concern with connecting with some of the DJs in his market is that they're older, more established DJs, and that they're going to feel threatened by him coming and approaching them. that he's stepping in there on their territory. Which,
Mhm.
boy, oh boy, remember when we first started the early days of Map DJ?
Yeah.
How much of that was so prevalent, but it
Well, I think that's going to
changes.
happen. Sure. And for some people, it's not going to. Hey, if somebody's going to feel that way about you approaching them, then they're probably not somebody you should be learning from.
Good point.
So
I
you
think
go there and they feel that way, you walk away, you try somebody else. But you don't have to, be in your own market. You go to other market. Nowadays, we've got things that didn't have years ago. There's workshops, there's training, there's coaches that and that are national and internationally known that you can go to. Mark Farrell is an amazing performance coach within the mobile disc jockey world, and as just as a performer period. But he's made that available for mobile DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Farrell's an amazing coach, and he's not the only one out there that you can go out there. And back in the day, they didn't have that.
Oh,
Back in the day, I was getting my training by taking acting classes.
just what we're doing tonight. I mean, here you've got a situation where there's 20 DJs that are engaging each other. That this didn't happen even a year ago. It didn't happen because the technology. Yes, the internet was there, but we what we can do today in sharing information and be able to answer questions or to help cast a vision for someone who's getting started is just the potential is just so great.
Well, the potential was there too back when we were doing it. It's just nobody did it. Nobody, and there was. You think there's that kid that was asking distrust now. It's nothing the way it was. People didn't trust you and I.
Very much so. Yeah,
People thought you and I were out to screw the industry and steal from everybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever, but it wasn't just you and I. It was everybody that was reaching out and saying, something. This whole thing could be different.
Yeah.
We could, the rising tide could raise all the boats. We could do this together, and no one had heard anything like that before. But it's not just that. And once again, and I want to say, we always want to say that it was the DJ world. It was only the DJ world. No. Try that with actors. Try that with Mary Kay ladies.
Newspapers. I mean, my wife runs our local newspaper, and the little things you hear. And okay, for those of you who aren't familiar, Lori runs a local newspaper. On Thursday mornings, to get me out of the house and out of my office here, I will go and deliver my little small town newspaper.
Yeah, he's got a little bike.
It's a little bike. I've got my little bell. That goes, yeah. So what ends up happening is we go and put papers on different racks, different newsstands around the area. I'll go into these places, and these other competing newspapers will go and they'll cover our newspapers, or they'll do this. They'll move our papers to the bottom of our own racks. There's just all these little petty little things, and I keep thinking to myself, this is like the DJ industry all over again. When we used to go and there would be someone, that DJ that you hired to come into your bar, that guy was just arrested for smoking pot at the school last week. These types of things were happening, and people were sharing things, and stories were going back and forth, and letters were being whatever. The crazy pettiness is just so everywhere. Mm-hmm. It's not just
a lot of that comes from everybody thinking there's not enough work, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. That's another conversation we could talk about forever. The difference between a scarcity mentality and an abundance mentality.
Oh, for sure.
There's enough money and enough work for everybody, or there's hardly any, so we got to fight for it with tooth and nail. That's two different ways to look at the world, and one of them really sucks.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is,
really depressing.
There's a lot more joy and happiness in it, and you're able to actually reach out and help your brother as opposed to stab him in the back.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Good. Well, Bill, I think we're going to wrap things up here for tonight. I'll let you get on your way here in just a couple of minutes. Just quickly, 2 weeks we're going to be together in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Give us a little 30-second.
Vegas,
what are you going to be doing?
It's happening the week of St. Patrick's Day, so that would be the Monday the 13th, Tuesday the 14th, Wednesday the 15th, Thursday the 16th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with people coming in on Sunday. The show starts on Monday. I think the Monday show starts at noon or 1 o'clock?
I think it's noon, yeah, somewhere in that.
Yeah, and then we've got speakers and presenters every day through Thursday, and then Thursday's last presenters noonish, 1 o'clock.
It's after lunch because
they're
they've
probably
got
going to tell me, yeah.
Thursday's a really a heavy schedule. I've actually had adjusted my airfare back,
Airflare?
airfare back, yeah, because I wanted
Wow.
to make sure that I was there because what I'm going to be doing at this year's show, and this is some of you might have seen my schedule because I went through and posted all the things where I'm going to be because Monday morning, Bill and Jason and I will be going live from the show in the morning. We'll be
That's right.
going
Bill and
live in the
Jason show
morning.
live
Yeah,
from Las Vegas.
and I get to be the guy in the background who's kind of yelling colorful things out at him. It's gonna
Well,
be
we have a
awesome.
showgirl's outfit for you. We're
Oh,
hoping you
thanks,
can wear.
great. I'm excited. It'll be great. But there's just so many things going on in Vegas, and what I want to do this year is I'm going to spend time, especially on Thursday. Thursday's just a heavy schedule with some great content, and I'm gonna go in there and really find some of these little nuggets that will help you guys out there who are watching these videos and to help you get some ideas that will hopefully help you to improve your business, grow your business, and get you to the point where someday you're going to be able to come down to Las Vegas and hang out with us and learn from these people directly.
Well, this is what I can tell you about Mobile Beat Las Vegas. First of all, this is their 20th year doing this show in Las Vegas, right?
Yep.
It is 25 years as a magazine. This magazine and this show has helped to shape the industry that you and I make a living in. An industry I never thought I'd make a living in. It shaped my understanding of what I could do. When I went to my first show in 1998 is when I went, what? You mean other guys do this all over the world? You mean what? I'm not just doing this on my own?
Yep.
That was a huge breakthrough. The next year I came excited to share, and I did. I met a bunch of people and I got better and I started to make a little more money and doing interesting and more, finding a way that for me to expand who I was as a performer, and doing weddings and company parties. The year after that, I got to see Mark Farrell for the first time, and my prices went from 0 to 1,000 overnight. The thing that people say, well, why should I go to Mobile Beat Las Vegas for the big 20-year anniversary? This is yes, there's going to be some great content. Okay, will I be there? Yes, I'll be not only doing the Bill and Jason show with Jason Jones and John Young on the first day, but I'm also the MC for the first day. So I'm there.
Yep.
Whether or not that's a big deal for you or not, I don't know. I don't think that's a big deal, but whatever. They've got amazing speakers every single day, including me again speaking on Wednesday. Okay. But I'm like a a small hitter compared to a lot of the guys they're bringing. But here's the deal. I go every year, and not every year has been a great year for great content. But I go back every year, and I hear guys say, I'm not going to go this year. It's not that great. I'm not, the speakers last year were not that big a deal. But you know what I can tell you? And as a guy that after 20 years of going, or not 20 years of going for me, because it was 98, for all those years of going, every year I got better at what I did. Every year I made more money at what I was doing. Every year I created more relationships with disc jockeys around the world, not just the United States, but around the world, to help get me more excited about doing this, so that I could find a way to make a living doing this. And I go back every year like it's Mecca. And it has very little to do with the content. The content is always great. Even when they think it sucks, the content is always great. Mm-hmm. What I get out of it every year is to be re-energized and to go after my business again like it's brand new, like the first year I did it. Every single solitary year. If Mobile Beat stops doing a conference, I don't know what's going to happen, okay? I'm serious. This is a big deal. And you can say what you say, and all the haters and all the people that have been going for years, well, they love to be the critics and things like that. No, the reason you go is so that you can recharge and you can come out brand new every single time. That's why you go to Mobile Beat Las Vegas. That's why I go to Mobile Beat Las Vegas. So if you and here's another thing. Right now, it's close to when the show's coming, so the ticket prices are higher than they were when they first started. Here's something you got to consider too. Go to a photographer's conference and find out how much the ticket is. Go to a conference for anybody else in the wedding industry and find out how much a ticket is. This is the cheapest wedding and mobile. This is one of the cheapest, if not the cheapest, conference, least expensive conference out there at Las Vegas. Yeah. Even at their highest ticket price, you will get more than your money's back worth it if you spent the money at the door, which is going to be more expensive than when you bought it when it first came out.
Oh,
But
for
even
sure.
then, you're going to get money back, money back, money back, money back, money back, money back a million times over going back and putting anything into this again. Mobile Beat Las Vegas is the reason why I am who I am today.
Yep.
Really. That's been the catalyst. Those people have been the people that have brought this group of people together that has every year got me re-excited about being a part of this. It's important that you're a part of it now. Okay.
Mhm.
Here I am sitting at 50. Now the new guys have to start coming back out.
Yep.
The 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, so that in 30 years or 20 years, you can be the 50-year-old saying to all the kids again, this is important. It
You need to be there. Exactly.
because without it, this industry has gone from 0 to 60 in the last 10 years more than they have in the last 50 because of conferences and because specifically of the work that Mobile Beat Las Vegas has done moving all this forward.
Yeah.
Because of them, there are other conferences. Because of them, there are people doing better work and more exciting things. It is important that you're a part of this. It really, really is. I hope that you go. And if you've never been to one and you want to go shake a hand of a guy who wants to meet you, you find me. Okay. I'm not tough to find. Okay.
Yep.
You come up, you shake my hand, you tell me you saw me say this. You want to meet, I want to meet you because it's important to me as much as it might be to you. I thrive on this. And if I don't go into Mobile Beat Las Vegas every year, feeling like this every year, then I might as well stay home. I've given up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This is important. It's important that you're a part of it. And I'm not saying this because I want to see Mobile Beat make a lot of money. I want to see Mobile Beat continue because this has done amazing things for me, for John, and every guy in this business that I respect. Okay, has been built out of this conference. Mark Farrell will be the first one to tell you that his message began and he owes his standing in the industry to Mobile Beat Magazine, for God's sake. You got to go. You really, really got to go. And I hope that's why you go, not because you heard that there's going to be a really great speaker. I'm a really great speaker. Come see me. Don't come because of me. Come because you know, no matter who's on stage, it's going to get you reinvigorated and excited about this again. So go.
Or they could come and have tamales with us on Monday night, and that alone would be worth the price.
Who's doing tamales on Monday night?
We are doing tamales on Monday night. The Disc Jockey News is doing. We've got some authentic Mexican tamales being made, handmade. They are going to be brought in for Monday night up in the Disc Jockey News suite.
No kidding.
Yeah. You haven't gotten the memo yet, so or maybe you weren't.
No, well, this is the first time I'm hearing because apparently I wasn't invited.
Maybe you weren't invited. Bill, we got to wrap things up. Thank you very much for your time tonight. I always enjoy our time together because we share a lot of similarities in our thoughts, and then there's the parts where you're just kind of crazy and off the wall. I appreciate you tremendously. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Bill Hermann with us tonight. Thank you very much, Bill. MJ's going to be with us in just a second.
Yep. Oh, and don't forget, Thursday night, the Bill and Jason show. It's going to be out a new one, so we got a new one coming up.
All right, we're going to switch here.
Hi, MJ. Hi, MJ.
How are you? I've enjoyed this hour. I've been listening.
You were actually watching?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Lots of good information.
You must be drunk.
No, this is how I normally am.
All right, I'm going to put our segue, Bill, so we'll bounce your video out. Thanks, Bill.
Just got a Wednesday.
We are back. We are live. MJ, good evening.
Hello. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I've done that shows with Bill like that before, and I find myself at the end of the show, I'm kind of torn. I'm a little bit motivated. I'm a little bit depressed. I'm a little bit confused.
So it's like normal.
It's Monday night. Hey, we're back. So, ladies and gentlemen, in our third segment, whatever their second hour tonight, MJ and I we started out the idea. Some of you said last week when you guys have been watching the Tuesday Night Brian Red show where we were doing music, and if you haven't seen those, you got to check those out. We went through the 50s, some of our best, our must-have and must-play from the 50s, and we went to the 60s. Last week we did the 70s. Tomorrow night we're doing the 80s. Oh my gosh, last week's show was 2 hours and 15 minutes of music talk. So you guys started asking questions about old school. So I said, "Hey MJ, let's do a show about old school." And what was you remember what your question was back to me, MJ?
It's the same thing when I'm DJing. When somebody comes up and asks, "Hey, you got some old school? Can you play something older?" I always ask, "What do you consider old school?" Because everybody has a different idea what old music is. So that's where it all began.
Yeah, and here I think he's basically messing with my head. Old school's old school, and then he's like, "Oh, well, are you talking this or these artists, and then these artists, or this and that and that?" And before long, my head was hurting. So what I wanted to do tonight, MJ, is because there's a lot of DJs out there who are like myself. We basically, our music knowledge sometimes may not extend much beyond what we play to make money. We know what we need to play to make money, but the history of it and the where and the what and the how isn't maybe our strong point. So let's kind of dig into that, because of that. As I was going through and reading about that, it was fascinating. Just the different categories of old school and different time frames. So we got to go.
I warned you a little bit earlier that I'm going to kind of mess with your mind with where I'm going with this, how deep, and it's probably going to scare some people when I start bringing out some memorabilia. Okay, just like my
the Run DMC
shirt. But when John said old school, like for someone like me, old school means late 70s, early 80s rap. And some of you are going to go, there was no rap in the 70s. Yes, there was. It just wasn't mainstream. The first mainstream hit obviously was Rapper's Delight that everybody knows. And that's kind of what I consider that era, Rapper's Delight, as old school. And just to show you, bam, what do you think of that?
What in the world is that?
That's the real deal right there. That's the real deal record and all. Rapper's Delight.
Wow.
The real deal, buddy.
Holy cats.
The real deal. So that's the first of my memorabilia that I'm bringing out. And that's like original pressing. That's not like I got it last week. That's original pressing. I have no room for anything here right now.
Yeah.
Trust me, because I'm surrounded by stuff right now. But I'm going to run through some names of some artists for what I consider from the old school. And like I said, I don't want this to be a blanket thing. So if you disagree with me, that's fine. I'm okay with that. This is just kind of putting things into perspective, because a lot of wedding DJs and stuff, their music has to cover a lot of genres. Mm-hmm. And our goal at the end of the night tonight with all of this is to give you some ideas of some other older hip hop songs that you probably should have with you just in case. And that's kind of what the whole thing came about. But old school hip hop to me means these artists. And you might have heard a few of these. Africa Bambaataa. I don't know, John, I'm going to look. I'm trying to see if your reactions are even
I'm busy typing. Going ahead. Some of these you shared the other day, and some of them were a head scratcher for me, because I was looking them up to see if I recognized any songs.
See, that would be probably the songs. If you would hear the songs, you would kind of know them a little bit. And I'm going to go into some terrible detail like you're not even going to know here. So we have Africa Bambaataa, Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash, Rocksteady Crew, Spoonie G, Nucleus. I don't know if we can see that right there. Nucleus, I love that group. Again, I have no idea where to put this stuff, so we're just going to start stacking it behind me here. Houdini, Freaks Come Out at Night.
Yep.
Original. Both of these originals. It's going to get scary here. The Treacherous Three, and I say that because we're going to come back to the Treacherous Three here in a bit with one of their artists that's going to blow you away that you know was in that. The Funky 4+1, Curtis Blow, Busy Bee Starsky, Lovebug Starsky, which was always one of my favorites. The Cold Crush Brothers, another favorite. Jekyll and Hyde was another favorite. Warp 9, Fab Five Freddy, which those of you who don't know who Fab Five Freddy is, and I'm going to talk to you about this card right here in a second, but he was the originator of, I'm going to go back to his original one. He was in movies about hip hop way back, which I'm going to talk about here in a second, in the old school era. Okay. He was in, what's the Blondie song where she raps? Rapture. He's the dude walking around in the white tuxedo and the white hat. He is one of the originators. He started the Yo MTV raps before Dre and Ed Lover did it. This was this guy. What I'm holding in my hand right now is that UMTV Raps, like for those people old know about bubblegum cards.
Yep.
UMTV Raps put out a whole thing of bubblegum cards for all their artists, the UMTV Raps, with information on the back about them. So I'm going to be showing a lot of these because these are like straight out of the 80s. Okay.
Wow.
And that's the Fab Five Freddy card. Okay. So we're going to remember him. And one of the biggest ones that everybody knows about, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. Okay. So those are the old school hip hop artists. Now, how many of those kind of grabbed you though that you know?
Probably about a half I've heard of.
Okay,
In
cool.
that, so, yeah.
Sugar Hill Gang, for one, like I said, we're going to go back to what you would need to worry about for weddings and stuff. Sugar Hill Gang, you know, Rapper's Delight. Find a good shorter version of that because some of them are long. I mean, if you look at the original one, it's really long. But, you know, that's probably of all those, that's all you're really going to need for wedding stuff.
Mhm.
But it's neat to look at them. I like one of the things that you know about me, obviously, that I like a lot of cleaner music, and those eras of music, they just didn't have any swearing in them at all. I mean, so that was one of the things that I kind of liked about all of that, those eras. But if you want to know more about them easily and get into the culture, and I think this is a cool, fun thing to do for DJs, there are some movies out there that you absolutely have to see. Find them, okay? If you want to know what true school, old school hip hop was about, there's a movie called Wild Style. They came out in 1983. Okay. It's kind of about this kid who is a graffiti artist. Okay. But there is like a ridiculous amount of hip hop artists from that era, like Busy Bee, Grandmaster Flash, Grand Wizard Theodore's in that. And Grand Wizard Theodore is given credit for inventing scratching with a record. Okay, so he's in that. Dada Rock, Grandmaster Cass, Grand Mixer DXT. Remember the song Rocket with Herbie Hancock?
Yep.
That's him. That's Grand Mixer DXT. Stevie D, Wild Style. That's true old school hip hop. When you say old school, most people are going to say that. You're also going to go into a little bit further about the mid 80s, and there were two movies that you've heard of, Breakin and Breakin 2 Electric Boogaloo. Okay, you may have heard of them. I don't know if you have. Mm-hmm. That was the whole breakdance era. Okay, so lots of cool stuff there with the breakdance era. But the thing that I'm pointing out for the two movies, Breaking and in 84 and 1 year later, Electric Boogaloo Breaking 2, is that, you know, the actor Ice-T, he was in both of them. And we all know him as this being really hardcore rapper.
Yep.
And had his band Body Count. Watch him in those two movies and you're going to flip your lid and go, OMG, like just what, like you guys were talking about in the last segment, you have an onstage, you know, persona. His persona changed after those because you'll blow your mind. Him rapping in those two. You'll blow your mind. That's all I got to say. We're talking sequins, all kinds of stuff. Okay. So Breakin and Breakin 2 Electric Boogaloo, very good ones to watch. Now, which takes us to the next section, which I call the halfway between the old school. And please feel free. Anybody stop me, John, if you see any questions or anything. But I call this kind of halfway because these are artists that I feel were both on the side of that old school and the next era, which most of you know that included Run DMC, which a lot of people call the golden era of rap. But these are kind of guys that are on both sides of the fence. They were before and after. One of them was Big Daddy Kane. I really liked him. He had a real deep voice, and I just liked his style back in the day. He just, you know, I think he just kind of crushed it. There was a DJ back then that was really fun, really famous. His name was Cash Money, and Cash Money is still famous to this day from being a DJ. I watched a it was kind of like a DJ expo for scratch DJs, and he was like drunk and came out on stage to do a demo, and literally climbs up on top of the table and is bent over scratching, you know, standing on the table. Cash Money has just always been known as just that crazy guy, and he kind of split both of those. Ice-T is another one. You know, we had our old guy Ice-T. I don't even know if you can see that. It's an Ice-T tape right there that I had from back in the day.
Yep.
Cool Mo D, it was another one of those guys from back in the day. He was very known for those glasses. I don't know if you probably remember him.
Yes, I remember that.
And we talked a little bit ago about Treacherous 3. He was one of the Treacherous 3. So the early 80s that he kind of transformed over there. And Roxanne Shante, Schoolie D, and Stetsasonic, there's the ones that do they do the song Supersonic that you may have heard. Supersonic. Okay, that's them. Okay. So that also, the Stetsasonic also, they kind of, some people say that it's part of the freestyle era or the Miami feel. It can be pop because they very big era again with the Cards, Run DMC. They went through several styles of their lifetime. Like I said, I collect things that have to do with DJing. I got this a couple years ago. It is an actual little action figure of Jam Master Jay. So that was some of the things I collect. Told you I have memorabilia everywhere. So we're gonna rock through a few of those and see if I can get through these of the golden age. And like I said, I wrote a dissertation on this. John knows how I write my dissertation. So Run DMC, Public Enemy, LL Cool J, we all know him. He has had songs since the 80s. The man literally, I think he's going to be kind of like Dick Clark, where he's going to have something famous in every decade of his life. I really feel that he can, besides the acting that he does. We have Public Enemy. We know them, of course. Yep. Chuck D, Flavor Flav, the original. Like we're hoping to get Keith Shockley on a thing. He was helping out with that. One of the original DJs was Terminator X, was extremely well known in the DJ world. Beastie Boys, that little people know that they had started out way back then. They were in some of the movies that I'm about to talk about coming up, that before they were really big hits. We have KRS-One, which for those of you who don't know, KRS-One stands for Knowledge Reigns Supreme over nearly everyone. And I don't know, you remember this guy? He was Boogie Down Productions, KRS-One. Loved his voice. Another great one. My Philosophy was one of his big songs in the early 90s. One of my favorite rappers, Eric B. and Rakim. Rakim, I think, is one of the best lyricists that ever lived. So that's it. EPMD, Eric Parrish Making Dough. Tribe Called Quest, Slick Rick. MC Light was a lady, loved her voice. She's still around from the 80s and still looks beautiful. I just want to say that. She aged so much better than I did. Jungle Brothers did a crossover, even that I play a song of theirs, where they did a remix of a Michael Jackson song, and it was like more in the house era. Probably say late 90s, early 2000s, that was a hit. Ice-T again crossed over in that section when he was kicking it. The Ghetto Boys, very few people remember them. I don't know if you remember, they had a really short, I don't want to say midget if that's the wrong word, little person that was in the rap group. He was real famous, went on to do stuff. NWA, which, they just come out with Straight Outta Compton a little bit ago. They were that era. 2 Live Crew were the really, really controversial group that everybody kind of talked about. Too Short, these ones, if you know them, you know them. I'm not going to go into a lot of them. Kid and Play, they were the guys that were in the movies House Party and House Party 2. Mm-hmm. So if you've seen either one of those, that's Kid and Play. The Fat Boys, we all know that. They did the remake of The Twist and all that kind of stuff. Believe it or not, Hammer was in there because people think he was 90s with, Please Hammer, Don't Hurt Him, and Don't Touch This. Yep. But a friend of mine came back from California with a VHS tape. And you know how they had a little plastic thing over the top, that you can look down inside? It was missing. It was that ghetto of VHS tape with videos that were running out there. And he had a song called They Put Me in the Mix in the 80s that was unbelievable. We went bananas trying to imitate his dances and stuff. And this was before any of that in the 80s. So that's something you need to check out. They Put Me in the Mix. Love the song. Third Base, a couple of white dudes that killed it. Absolutely killed it. Loved a couple of their songs. They had a cassette called the Cactus cassette, which I always thought was pretty good. Chub Rock, who is still rapping to this day from the 80s. Del the Funky Homo Sapien. If you ever heard the song Mr. Dabalina, Mr. Bob Dabalina, that's Del the Funky Homo Sapien. Eazy-E, him from NWA, kind of went out and did his own thing after that. The Few Schnickens, Ice Cube, which Ice Cube, obviously, from all the acting movies now. He was back then. MC Shan. His main fame, and I don't mean to do this, is because he became, like a lot of rap artists have beef with other people. His was that he had it with KRS-One. The two of those kind of went battle. And if you remember the artist Snow, which I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, MC Shan is in the song Snow. So just to kind of show you genres, how they jumped there. Nice and Smooth were a couple that I liked. Pete Rock and CL Smooth was another one. Far Side, I was at DJing a couple weeks ago and the manager come over and said, "You got any Far Side?" I'm like, yes, I do. and played that. PRT was one of my favorite ones. They were kind of like a reggae sorta thing. Poor Righteous Teachers, I still love them. Special Ed, Kwame. Kwame, this is the thing how diverse rap was back then, because in the same era as Public Enemy, you had Kwame, and Kwame was known for wearing polka dots. Okay, he would put Cisco, the thong song.
Mm-hmm.
Him and Cisco could stand next to each other, and you would be like, these dudes are trying to outdress each other in crazy outfits. That was Kwame. Okay. We had Tone Loc, obviously. You remember Tone Loc?
Oh, yeah.
Funky Cole Medina. Yeah. Or in there, Slick Rick and I don't know if you remember, they were kind of like Slick Rick had the Children's Story was the song, and De La Soul. What made them, I'm not saying they were a bad group, but what made them super famous is their entire album was nothing but samples that they took from other people, and they were forced, literally every song of every album, you can look down the list now if you look it up, and the entire album was samples from someone else, and they rapped over it, and that was kind of like their claim to fame, and I still play them to this day. So that was the golden era. Movies you need to see from the golden era. If I'm talking too much, please forgive me, because like I said, I have a dissertation.
You're doing fine. I'm sticking with the. I've got two different chats. I've got the YouTube chat and I've got a Facebook chat. So gang,
cool.
I'm not completely lost in everything MJ says. I'm just trying to keep up with you guys here and then on Facebook here tonight.
The final one from the golden age that I dare you to go look up. Okay, World Class Wrecking Crew. Okay, remember that. Go look it up. World Class Wrecking Crew. It was Dr. Dre's first group. And when you hear their song, Turn Out the Lights, you will go, just like looking at Ice-T from those Electric Boogaloo things, you'll look at Dre and go, what the heck happened? He just took a whole nother persona on. World Class Wrecking Crew. Movies you need to see to cover the golden era. You absolutely need to see them. They cover all of those.
Okay.
85 was Crush Groove. Did you have a question?
No, I'm typing them in.
Oh, okay. Crush Groove in 85. You have to see it. Literally in this movie, you had LL Cool J, Run DMC, Fat Boys, Curtis Blow, New Edition. Remember the New Edition?
Mm-hmm.
And Beastie Boys. Then Run DMC came out with their own movie called Tougher Than Leather in 88. And it had them, literally Russell Simmons from, you might know him from, I can't think of the name of the show he had on MTV. He's Run's brother, Russell Simmons. Rick Rubin has produced, since the 80s, some of the biggest names, Jay-Z, everybody. He is this white dude that looks like a mountain man. Long hair, long beard. You'd swear he was a mountain man, but he's been producing hip-hop. He started, I can't think of the name of the record label now. Oh, crap. The one that Run DMC and everybody was on. Def Jam? Def Jam. He created Def Jam Records. Yeah. He created it. So that's the other one, is Tougher Than Leather. Beastie Boys were in it, Rick Rubin. So Crush Groove and Tougher Than Leather are the two that you have to see for that golden era of rap. Now, when we were talking about old school, how many of those did you think, when we said old school, that came to mind when you said, hey, let's do a show on old school? How many of those artists, that golden era, did you think of?
That was pretty much where I was envisioning it more, in that Run DMC time frame, because that's when we started going and looking, and it's back into the 70s with this and this and this and this.
And as the artist crosser, I would say for weddings, guys, Tone Loc, you might want to have, maybe Funky Cole Medina, or, whatever. There would be one. Run DMC, LL Cool J. I forgot to mention in there, there was still plenty I missed in there. Tribe Called Quest, Slick Rick.
Oh, yeah.
Fat Boys. Cool G Rap was known for, later on, he put out, at the same time that Snap put out I Got the Power, his own version of I Got the Power. They went to court over it. He lost. Snap got the right to do the song.
And Snap is...
And I've always liked his version better. That's early Wu-Tang era too. A lot of people forget about Jurassic 5, started way back then. They were one of my favorites. That's when Flava Flav had his one hit, 911 is a Joke. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yep, I remember that one.
Black Sheep, this or that. that song. Boogie Down Productions, Chub Rock. There's just all from there. But like I said, if you want to talk Run DMC, maybe some LL, Tone Loc. I don't know who else I would pick for wedding stuff.
Now, MJ, a couple of weeks ago, you guys were doing the DJ AM tribute.
Yeah.
And you had guys, tons of DJs coming rolling through there. Now, when they were playing some different samples and different things from different artists, now was there kind of a tendency? Are they playing more of using more modern tracks, or were some of these guys pulling some of the classic tracks that would be considered into the early '90s hip hop?
They would be picking them, but they'd be remixes, redrums, something. It would be it would never be the original cut, because there's a place here in the city that I DJ occasionally. They want nothing but believe it or not, it's the local casino. And they want nothing but 70s or 80s. But nobody plays the original cuts. We play remixes, stuff because if you would play the original cut on a good sound system, you'd be like, where's the bass? And then put a modern song on there and the bass would just be crushing. The songs were just built differently back then. So yeah, they were playing remixes, so.
But yet a lot of them, I did recognize some as being from that 90s era. So it must have been.
We haven't gotten to the 90s yet.
We haven't gotten
That's
there
still
yet.
80s.
Well, I'm talking about. Okay, fine.
Now we're going to go to the halfway between the golden 80s and the 90s. These are guys that were on both sides of the fence. And that's why I said MC Hammer a while ago, because then he went to BAM.
There he is.
Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is, you've probably never went to a record store. These were called flats. And do you remember the flats at the record store? Like when somebody would have a single come out or an album, they would give the record store a flat that had stuff on both sides. You would put it up on the windows of the store, all around the store, and then when it was no longer a hit, you could come in and say, I want this, I want that, and collect them as you want them and put them up in your room. And I did get his, so got one of his flats. Please don't hurt him. That was from the second album, I think.
Yeah.
I think. Because Can't Touch This is third album, I think. So halfway between, Hammer is one of those. LL Cool J is another halfway because they crossed over. Beastie Boys crossed over on both of them. Sir Mix-a-Lot crossed over on both of them. You're going to argue this with me, but I'll prove you wrong. You're going to say Vanilla Ice was not 80s, but the song was out in the 80s because I had friends in Florida who were playing it, and it was on the radio, but never became a hit until 1990. So we cannot forget the man himself, Vanilla Ice.
There he is.
Ice, baby. And he put a movie out. I totally forgot to talk about that in this. So we're going to talk about Cool as Ice. It's a great movie. Everybody else hates it. I thought it was a good movie. Young MC. Now, here comes the memorabilia that's going to make your head hurt. Okay. He's the one that does the song Bust a Move.
Yep.
Okay. Young MC. The whole album here, which is a really good album, by the way, if you don't have it. Are you ready?
I am.
Can you read that?
Milli Vanilli there. You got a ticket there.
Ticket. Milli Vanilli. Young MC was the opening act.
Cool.
Ticket I got. I actually won that in a dance competition. I'm not kidding you. True story. Told you, memorabilia is going to make your head hurt.
So was when you went to that show, was Young MC had a hit yet, or was he still?
Yeah, he had. I think it was Bust a Move and Expose. I don't know if you remember them. They were they were a girl singing group. They were the first one. So it was Expose, then Young MC, then Milli Vanilli.
That's funny. So
it was that was the thing that you got a lot of crossover artists that different types that you would see do stuff then, know. So you got that. Young MC, DJ Jazzy Jeff, and I also wanted to put him, because they were in the 80s group, because one of the ones that they had before that was called I'm the Rapper, He's the DJ. And songs like Charlie Mack's The First Out of the Limo and stuff like that a lot of people don't know. Also like Salt and Pepper, everybody knows they were both sides, 80s and 90s, with all their stuff incredible. Queen Latifah, also both sides. Most of her hits were in the 90s. And Biz Markie, which we all know him. he had some great stuff back in the days. He also did when they redid that song, DJ Cool, Let Me Clear My Throat. There was a thing with him and Slick Rick where they did it together. I think it's a better version. Those were in there. So that's the halfway in betweens. You feeling those wedding wise? I figure probably Hammer.
Getting more
Vanilla
with
Ice,
Hammer, Vanilla
Sir
Ice.
Mix a lot.
Yeah. Now we're getting into.
Yeah, those are ones you'd want to have for the wedding. Salt and Pepper, obviously. Bismarcky, you can still play that at bars and have people sing along, say he's just a friend.
Oh yeah, that's that. I dropped that clip into the middle of some songs.
Yeah.
And that really, I didn't start doing that until they did that. Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon did that.
I actually, after they did that, it's funny you say that. I started playing that video, like when I would drop it places, I wouldn't play the Bismarcky version. I got the video of when they did it. Justin Timberlake edited that, and that's what I would rock when it would come out. So it would come up on the video, and they would know it, and they would see, oh, that's this, and you could play just the hook because that's all they did was the hook.
Yep.
So I kind of started doing that. I also want to go back to the DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, and I want to share something.
Mm-hmm.
Boom! How you like me now? Got to meet him a couple years ago when he was performing. Incredibly cool guy. The show was just rocking, but I got to meet him.
Cool.
So, yeah. All right, so now we're moving on. This is where it's going to get scary. No, I think it was scary before that I have this stuff in my house. Naughty by Nature. Remember them? Hip Hop Hooray. Yeah. Home. Okay, they were one. Snap. I Got the Power. Was that era. Okay.
It's getting.
And I want to bring them to attention for one reason, because the rapper in there, Turbo, is from Pittsburgh. That's all I want to say. Criss Cross, which we know one of the Criss Cross guys died a couple years ago, but the ones that wore the pants backwards. Digital Underground. You remember them?
Oh yeah.
You know, the what was the name? I just blanked on the name of the song.
Humpty Dance.
Yeah, Humpty Dance, and I can't even think of half of them. My mind blanks on these because there's so many. Snow. Do you remember us talking about that?
Yep.
12 Inches of Snow is the name of the album. Got it. Belle Biv DeVoe, Poison.
Nice. Yeah.
Never Trust a Big Butt and a Smile. They were from that era. Diggable Planets and PM Dawn.
Oh yeah.
Okay. They were, again, hip hop has been so many different things, and everybody thinks it needs to be one thing, but it has been so many different things. Diggable Planets you would almost classify them as a jazz rap group. Okay. And to clarify, rap, it can mean two things that I've heard it said in my lifetime: rhythm and poetry, or rhythmic American poetry. I've heard it said both ways. So it depends. But Diggable Planets and PM Dawn were kind of like I said, it was kind of a jazz-oriented type of hip-hop. But those were big ones. Pardon me. Juvenile, back that thing up, it's the version that I play.
Yep.
We have Diddy, P. Diddy, and he was Diddy, and then he was whatever. And him and Mace were from the 90s area. Skilo, I wish I was a little bit taller. Wish I was a baller.
Mm-hmm.
That one. He was from that era. And I have a remix of that I still drop every once in a while. Big Pun, Cypress Hill, ODB. You remember he was also in the remix of Mariah Carey's Fantasy. He was in with that. House of Pain, when you bought their album, you got the House of Pain Fine Malt Lyrics sticker.
I have not seen that.
So I have that very proudly. Told you, just stuff that I have. DMX was that era. Arrested Development, which I couldn't find my Arrested Development album. I know it's somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Black Sheep, Master P, Notorious B.I.G., Ja Rule, because he's on both sides of the 90s and the 2000s. I don't care what you say. I'll argue that with you to the end of the earth. Busta Rhymes, Wu-Tang, Coolio, and he became famous because he was in this movie, Dangerous Minds.
Oh, yeah.
And I had that soundtrack. I owned the soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he came from that. again, I cannot believe I actually own half of this stuff. This was just part of it. I just didn't feel like digging any further for some of the stuff. NWA, which was obviously out. Ice Cube, the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Dre's, some of his early stuff. The Fugees were their own thing that was just kind of a trio that was, Lauryn Hill and Wyclef. We had Heavy D and the Boys also were another one from that era, which they did a lot of stuff, and he did stuff with other people. The Snoop Dogg, Tupac, the DJ Cool, Let Me Clear My Throats, and one of my favorites from the earlies, a group called YBT. And I don't know if I can get you to get that to work. Okay, they are 4 white guys, and YBT stands for Young Black Teenagers.
Yeah, what did they sing?
And they had the song "Tap the Bottle and Twist the Cap."
Cap off. Yep.
Tap the bottle and twist the cap. Tap the bottle.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah.
See, and I'm telling you, all these things are just going crazy. All right, so in the movie you need to see, I think, kind of covers that era, and it's kind of in between. There's other ones there, but I'm recommending this one, New Jack City, because that kind of covers a little bit of everything. Ice-T was in that. Chris Rock was in that. Like I said, one of my favorite guys. What was his name? Rakim did the song. It was in that. A lot of good stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
But of that era, I would say, what do you think? Digital Underground, Humpty.
Oh yeah, Humpty Dance would be.
Belle Biv DeVoe.
Poison.
Yeah,
it could for some.
Some weddings.
Yeah.
Now we're thinking just weddings. Not, I mean, like I said, that's one you can throw as a bar as an old one. It can do that.
Yeah, that can go in a variety.
Yeah. Back that thing up. Possibly weddings.
Yeah, that one's maybe probably not so much anymore.
I play at other places, but not there. House of Pain, you can still do that. Also from the 90s, which I didn't put in there, that I play that could possibly play for wedding, is the actual theme to Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I do that every once in a while. That does get some hits.
Oh yeah.
DMX, I don't know if you're going to play some DMX at a wedding or not.
Although around Christmas time, I don't know if you saw the video of DMX.
Him doing Rudolph.
Now that was
awesome.
It was awesome. A whole new appreciation for his skill levels, basically.
Yeah. His voice, he was touted in when he was a performer as being one of the first guys who would go out on stage by himself. No dancers, no backup, no nothing. And he would keep the audience's attention, just him and nobody else. And I always thought that was kind of neat how that he could command an audience. I mean, and years later, as you see now, as he sings Christmas songs, that he can do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Other ones maybe in there. I don't know. Let Me Clear My Throat. That you could probably do that at a wedding.
Oh,
I think.
Drop a little bit of that. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know about Ja Rule. These are ones that I kind of hit into when you start getting into the difference between old school and throwback, and that's what we're going to get into in a bit here. Throwback as opposed to old school, because throwback is a constantly moving time frame. Okay. So, and it also is relevant to the age of the people standing in front of you,
which is,
so we're going to define that. And tell me if I'm going too fast or too slow on any of these, or if anybody has any questions, or if anybody's even watching it all.
Yeah, they're just listening, and every once in a while they throw up an artist, and then you mention the artist a few seconds later.
Yeah. I don't know. Was that the end of my memorabilia there? I think. Yeah, that was all my memorabilia that I actually brought down. The halfways is like DMX, Little Kim, Big Timers, and Jay-Z, which those kind of like, had a little bit here in the night, like the late 90s, but mostly early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So you had, Little Kim, and when she did the one with Pink and all of them, Moulin Rouge and the Big Timers, Roll Out, and all that kind of stuff. Then we drop into the early 2000s, and think about the year that it is. It's 2016. You get an average person that is out at a bar. So we're talking bar age. Okay. 16 years ago, put them at what age?
8, 9, 10.
8, 9, 10. When you first started listening to music. Okay. So then let's say you have a few more people a little bit older than that, and that takes them into the early teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when most people kind of have their cling to their era. Okay. So that's what you call a throwback. Something that hits that when the era of the people standing in front of you were young. That's what we call a throwback. So in another 10 years, a throwback is going to be 2010, give or take. And this is the ones from the throwback era. Eminem, obviously, 50 Cent, Ludacris, Nelly, Mystical, Yin Yang Twins, Little John, Kanye West, Lil Wayne, T.I., Fat Joe, Nas, Cameron, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So those are throwbacks. Now, I don't know if too many people would drop any of those at a wedding. Maybe, Little John's Get Low. I mean, I don't know. Do you feel that people drop Get Low at a wedding?
Get the clean version, I think.
Yeah.
And it just means that everything's bleeped out as far as there's
Right,
only like
right.
4 words that they sing.
Right. I know that at a wedding once I played Bring 'Em Out as when the bride and groom came out. So that one was one in there. Other than that, I don't know. Probably you might play In the Club by 50 Cent, depending on if it's a clean version at a wedding. Maybe. Your thought?
Oh boy, it's been a long time since I played In the Club. That was so when that came out, and goodness,
Yeah.
for about 3 or 4 years, it was a go-to. It kind of became like the latter a few years later when with the Ushers. Yeah, it really not quite as much hang time as Yeah had.
Yeah.
But it definitely was around. P.D.
I
Pablo.
like when people come up and request that they go, "You got that It's Your Birthday song."
Yeah.
Like, I know what that is. Yes, it's not the name of it, but I know what you're talking about. But that's kind of like the trip through hip hop. Like I said, I don't want anybody to think that this is the tried and true historical referencing, but it's just kind of a look at what was out there and from where it started. Because, like I said, I'm old enough, and I hate to admit that I'm that old, but I remember before rap was even allowed. You understand that when Yo MTV put Yo MTV Raps on is because they had to segregate rap music from everything else. So like nowadays you turn on the radio, you're hearing rap with people singing with a rock band, you're getting a mix of everything. They didn't allow that back then.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say allowed, but it was just something they didn't do. So they put the rap artists on that show only.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how a lot of those became in the early days. And how diverse, like I said, Kwame, go look up Kwame.
I'm not sure about that one.
He was known for wearing polka dots. Okay, that's enough that you can say a rapper that wears polka dots. Okay. And I even believe he had an album called Polka Dot something or other. I don't remember what it was, but Kwame was a trip. But like I said, with him and Chuck D at the same time, Fight the Power, same era,
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of neat to see a lot of that go across there. And it was a different era. I have lots of pictures that I will not be showing tonight of me and when they used to wear the overalls with the one shoulder off.
Oh yeah.
And all that. There's many pictures of me in hammer pants, both solid color and polka dot. I'm not kidding you.
Yeah.
That era, where you had the patent leather shoes, the shoes with the little metal tip to them,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I had Vanilla Ice hair at one point, so.
But this would have been the fun ones now. Come on, where are those pictures?
No, those pictures are not coming out today. But there's pictures out there with me with one glove on from breakdancing, doing hand spins and stuff back in the days. And still to this day, you'll see me rocking Adidas. It's just I've tried to switch brands, and I just don't feel comfortable. So I'm always wearing my white Adidas with the black stripes. Just still to this day. It just feels right to me. That's all. I don't wear the shell toe. I wear the one that came after that called the Campus Edition. And it's just the same thing minus the shell toe. That's it.
I think I've got.
But that's my trip, and I hope, like I said, I hope that this gave you kind of an idea of to keep some extra things in your repertoire, because, like I said, you never know when you're at that wedding and the bride asks you for something and it's not something that you would ever play, and to have some of those with you are going to make you look really good. And that's why I keep some stuff in my computer that it's like, why is it in here? And then one day something happens and I'm like, okay, this is going to work here, So carry some of the stuff with you. Go look at these things. They're fun to look at. Even if you laugh at people going, that's what MJ dressed like. What? It's kind of like the picture you put up. Did you put that up? I think.
Which one?
I'll go over and share it. A couple years ago, the city does this thing every once in a while where they do a Halloween costume bicycle ride, and you ride through the city, and there's a couple hundred of us on bicycles, on mountain bikes, whatever, riding through the city dressed in costumes. And a couple years ago, this was the costume that I wore out. I was Run DMC for the night on the mountain bike.
I love
So
the chain.
I had the I can't even remember what those gazelle glasses. I think they were called gazelles or Giselles. I'm not sure which way is the proper way to pronounce that.
On a bike with that. I was wondering. I didn't know the bike side of it.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't believe people decorating their bikes that look like to make them look like cars and all kinds of stuff. It's impressive how the people do it, but everybody's in a costume, and we do probably about a 5 or 10 mile ride all around the city and literally stop. Somebody goes up and stops the side streets, and we
Everybody
ride
goes
through.
through.
Then they let the cars, and we go through the whole city that way one night. Kind of fun stuff. But
Cool.
any questions while we're doing it? I mean, what do we got from the chat room?
They've just been watching and as somebody said, it was a taking him in the Wayback Machine kind of a thing, and
yeah,
they're traveling through MJ's house and checking out all of his.
PD Pablo, PD Pablo. He's one of those ones that I go to because again, as a DJ, I look at things a lot of times as beats per minute, and his songs are up there in the high, that one, North Carolina, like a helicopter, that's up in the high BPM. So I'll get to pull him out just for that. Ashante, absolutely. I tried to stick a little bit more with the rap era but these Ashante was in there. We totally forgot about Aaliyah that I want to keep in there. TLC, I didn't put in there. They're absolutes. I'm trying to just dip up through this thing and see if I see anything else. The freestyle era, the one guy said, that's actually one of my favorite eras to DJ. I just loved all that, Greg LeMond and all of those, just absolutely loved that. Yeah, Dr. J was wearing tight sparkle shirts. Scary. Yeah, for those of you who need to go look that up. Rakim. I actually saw DJ Big Ron said in here, and I actually saw this recently, saying that he was the toughest rapper ever because everybody respected him, and he never swore once in a single song. That's how you know you're a bad lyricist and a bad man. You don't have to cuss, and everybody goes, he's the lyricist.
Interesting.
So submit here. Somebody said, if you need to cut me off, John, just cut me off.
No, you're okay. Once you get through there a little bit, because a lot of the folks they've been
I'm
with us the whole time, listening to the show. So
yeah, so that was it. Like I said, and the funny thing is, and this is the scary part about it, and this is where it's going to blow your mind. I never DJ'd top 40 or hip hop until 2005. I was an EDM DJ the whole time. Okay, I'm sorry, late 80s. I spun top 40 because that's what I spun. And then I started to be able to get into some of the more housey stuff, the Depeche Modes and the different things that became that what was electronic then, because Heavy D was considered a house artist. Marky Mark and Funky Bunch, that was considered a house artist because of the BPM and stuff that he played. So, and then it just went on in there into some of the trance era, Sandstorm, and then I couldn't make a living at just doing that genre. So in 2005, I started doing any type of music, and that's when all that. But you grew up with all the stuff. It was there, when Michael Jackson put out a video, you clamored to Friday night videos if you didn't have MTV to watch it, stuff like it wasn't like going to the internet. But I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I hate looking at it sometimes because it makes me remember how old I am. But I think it's good that I'm still out there and be able to hang,
There you go. We'll go with that.
And the most important thing, like you were even saying in the last hour, I'm willing to share and talk about these things. My history, my knowledge, I'm not going to hide it from anybody. I'm going to, if you want to learn, I'll help you, because that's what I believe it's about. If I help you and give you my knowledge and then you're better than me, well, then you're better than me. I need to do some work. Then, as we used to say, I need to go back to the woodshed and do some work, practice.
that didn't age you at all right there.
Didn't it? No, woodshed. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, ask questions if you want to know about things. We're here. That's what we do this for.
Yeah, good stuff, MJ. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Questions, comments down below. The side comments are not going to be available for a couple of days. So if you have something you want us to answer and you're watching this later this evening, then put that down below the video, not on the right side, because we won't see the right side for days. So like to answer any questions if there's something out there. So, MJ, thank you very much for joining me tonight, and thank you for the walk down memory lane for a lot of us.
In my memorabilia.
Yeah, now you got to go clean up and put things away.
Put things away.
Yeah. What's that funny
Sugar
looking
Hill.
thing? What's
Sugar
that?
Hill.
What's that round
I
thing?
don't know what kind of computer that disc goes in, but it must be huge.
It was a big old computer. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This is MJ from the Disc Jockey News and the Rewind Report, and John Young here from the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV. Good night.